Welcome to the World News on VOPTV. I am Chioma Innocent. The world news begins with the U.S. Coast Guard on Wednesday saying presumed human remains were among the debris and evidence recovered from the seafloor where the doomed Titan submersible's remnants were found. In a news release, the Coast Guard said the remains were recovered within the wreckage of the submersible, an announcement coming nearly 1 week after authorities determined the Titan-bound vessel had imploded in the North Atlantic, killing all 5 men aboard. The presumed remains, which the military branch said will be analyzed by U.S. medical professionals, were among the evidence from the submersible that arrived at the Canadian pier on Wednesday. The company that owns the remotely operated vehicles that brought the Titan's remains to the surface, Pelagic Research Services, for now, has successfully completed the offshore work. Pelagic Research Services deferred questions to the U.S. Coast Guard, adding that its team cannot comment on or provide any information related to the investigation into the Titan's demise. The Ocean Gate submersible and its 5 passengers began their descent to the 111-year-old wreckage of the Titanic on the morning of June 18, but 1 hour and 45 minutes into its dive, the cramped vessel lost contact with its mothership and did not surface as expected, kicking off a massive, days-long multinational search and rescue operation that captured the world's attention. Today, the U.S. Coast Guard announced the vessel had suffered a catastrophic implosion that presumably killed all those aboard. The tail, cone, and other debris from the submersible were found by a remotely operated vehicle about 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic. Over the weekend, the military branch said it convened a Marine Board of Investigation to probe what caused the implosion and to offer possible recommendations to pursue civil or criminal sanctions as necessary. Now, in Sweden, several Muslim-majority countries have condemned the burning of a copy of the Quran at a protest in the country. Salwan Momika, said to be an Iraqi living in Sweden, set fire to a copy of the Muslim text in front of Stockholm's Central Mosque on Wednesday. Middle Eastern nations, including Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, strongly criticized the burning. And Turkey, a NATO member with a say over whether Sweden gains membership, called it a despicable act. Turkey, which was also angered by a Quran burning protest earlier this year, said it was unacceptable to allow such anti-Islamic actions to take place under the pretext of freedom of expression. The Quran burning on Wednesday took place as Muslims around the world celebrated the first day of Eid al-Adha, one of the most important festivals in the Muslim calendar. Swedish police have given Mr. Momika a permit for the protest in accordance with free speech laws, but later police said the incident was being investigated for incitement of hatred. The protest sparked anger amongst other nations, with Morocco recalling its ambassador to Stockholm and summoning Sweden's chargé d'affaires in Rabat. Sweden's Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson said the Quran burning was legal but not appropriate. Plans to burn copies of the Quran have sparked riots in Sweden in recent months. Police have rejected similar protest applications recently, but courts then ruled that they should be allowed on freedom of expression grounds. Now, a professor and 2 students were on Wednesday stabbed during a gender studies class at the University of Waterloo in Canada. Authorities say 1 person is in custody following the attack. Waterloo Regional Police spokesperson Cherry Greeno said the male suspect walked into a university lecture classroom and stabbed the 3 victims with a knife. Greeno said the victims' injuries are serious but not life-threatening, and all have been treated at hospitals. The suspect, who has not been identified, was found inside the same building as the attack and was quickly taken into custody. It is still unknown what motivated the attack, as the suspect is being questioned. It is also unclear whether the suspect is connected to the university or if he personally knew any of the victims. Greeno said the classroom holds about 20 people, and it is still unclear how many students were in the philosophy class on gender studies at the time of the attack. The stabbings, which took place at the university's Hagee Hall, prompted the school to issue orders to vacate the building and shelter in place as police responded to the scene. Classes scheduled in Hagee Hall were also cancelled while other campus operations proceeded as usual. Waterloo is about 70 miles west of Toronto, the Canadian capital. Now, in Paris, unrest has continued in France for the second night as security forces were deployed in their thousands to quell protests over the killing of a 17-year-old boy by police. French President Emmanuel Macron has described the violence as inexcusable, while also pleading for calm and for justice to take its course. Anger over the killing spawned protests in multiple towns around Paris on Tuesday and Wednesday nights, with Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin announcing that 150 arrests had been made across the country and that town halls, schools and police stations were set on fire or attacked. In a tweet via his official Twitter handle, the Interior Minister called it a night of unbearable violence against symbols of the Republic. Approximately 2,000 riot police were called up in suburbs around Paris on Wednesday night, following the fatal point-blank range shooting on Tuesday morning of a teenager during a traffic check in the Paris suburb of Nanterre. Protesters set fire to refuse bins and fireworks were set off in Nanterre on Wednesday night, as well as in other communities and in the eastern city of Dijon. In the southern city of Toulouse, several cars were touched and responding police and firefighters were pelted with projectiles as thick black smoke billowed high into the sky. Last year, 13 people were killed in France after refusing to stop for police traffic checks. The killings follow a law change in 2017 that gave greater powers to officers to use their weapons, which is now under scrutiny. All French governments are haunted by the prospect of a repeat of the 2005 riots, sparked by the death of 2 black boys during a police chase. The protest resulted in about 10,000 cars being burned and 6,000 people arrested. The victim's mother posted a video on TikTok calling for a tribute march today for her son, an only child. Their lawyer Yassine Bouzrou said he would file an additional complaint for false testimony over the allegation that Nahel had tried to run over the police officer. Now, the Court of Appeal ruled today that the UK government's controversial plan to deport some asylum seekers to Rwanda is unlawful. In a 3-judge decision, the court overturned a High Court decision that previously ruled that Rwanda could be considered a safe third country in which to send refugees. The ruling states that by a majority, the court allows the appeal on the issue of whether Rwanda is a safe third country. It unanimously dismissed the other grounds, saying the British Home Office can now appeal to the Supreme Court. Under the scheme proposed by the Conservative government, asylum seekers deemed to have arrived in the UK illegally would be deported to the African nation. And finally, on the fashion scene, a minuscule handbag measuring less than 0.03 inches wide has sold for over $63,000 as an online auction on Wednesday. The bag, which is barely visible to the human eye, is fluorescent yellowish green and based on a popular Louis Vuitton design, though it is the work of a New York art collective, not the luxury label itself. Dubbing its diminutive creation a microscopic handbag, the Brooklyn-based group MSCHF claims that the bag is narrow enough to pass through the eye of a needle and is smaller than a grain of sea salt. It was sold alongside a microscope equipped with a digital display through which the bag can be viewed. A promotional photo shows the design in greater detail, revealing Louis Vuitton's signature LV monogram. The bag appears to be based on the French label's On The Go tote, which currently retails at full size for between $3,100 and $4,300. A statement published alongside the auction listing posted that the fashion industry's love of small bags had seen them steadily more abstracted, to the point that the accessory is what they called purely a brand signifier. And that is a wrap on the world news right here on Voice of the People Television. Please follow our social media handles at voptvlive. Check us out on YouTube at Voice of the People Television. Thank you for joining us. I am Chioma Innocent.